I think Ben Shapiro likes to say, never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to incompetence. That's me. All right, I'm going to take a drink. All right, this will be the third time I've going over this. I should I should be real comfortable with it now. Okay, this is, as you can see at top, the Association for Size, Diversity, and Health. I'm going to call them ASDA or ASDEath. And they have what's known as the Health at Every Size approach. And these are the HAES principles. Let's start with ASDA affirms a holistic definition. Okay, whenever you see the word holistic, or what's another good one? All right, thanks, Ray. Um, when you see the word holistic or not purge, cleanse, like a liver cleanse or detox, that's another real good one. Run away. Run away, because that's bad juju right there. Hello, Alice. I'm glad you didn't miss it either. I apologize for all the starts and stops. Thank you for coming in. And Yekto, Aslip, I very much apologize if you had to leave because of all this. Thank you for showing up to begin with. So anyway, holistic, bad word to find in any kind of medical jurisdiction whatsoever. Very bad. So a holistic definition of health, which can be characterized as simply the absence of physical or mental illness, limitation, or disease. See, that not right there. Any of us would say that that is a good thing. That you do want to be have an absence of physical or mental illness, or limitation or disease. For instance, I'm bipolar. It's well managed, so you could say that it doesn't count anymore. If I take my lithium every day like I'm supposed to, and I do, things are great. I'm very active in my community. I'm a shooting instructor. I have friends in the cigar world around town. I get out, and I'm just rejoined my church, so I'm going to be start doing social aspects there as well. Life is good. My wife's retiring soon, and we're gonna be able to spend a lot more time together. We're gonna be able to do things that we've been wanting to do but couldn't because of work considerations. So right there, no mental illness, physical illness. I got artificial hips. I've got a bad back. I've got a bad neck. Yeah, but I get around. Again, I just said so. Let's call that an absence of limitation up to a certain degree. And then disease in general. If you have the flu, you're not healthy. Um, if you have colitis, you're not healthy, unless it is well managed. But according to ASDA, the simple absence of these things, that isn't enough. Any doctor would tell you that that's what they want for you, but no, that's not enough. To them, health exists on a continuum, and this continuum varies with time and circumstance. Well, any continuum changes with time and circumstance. But how can your health change just over time with such an inspecific limitation? Sorry, I get dry mouth. Um, so, could I be healthy from the has approach from 1 second to the next? Maybe, according to them. And circumstance. So, my circumstance changes. Um, that seemed rather interesting, and I would say accurate. As your circumstances change, your health level would change, but that's not enough for them, because again, physical, mental illness, limitation, or disease, no, 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 not having those isn't good enough. Instead, this is rich. Health should be conceived as a resource or capacity available to all regardless of health condition or ability level, and not as an outcome or objective of living. Okay, health as a resource. I do not understand what that means. Or capacity available. Again, we all have the capacity within ourselves to be healthy up to the point of needing medical intervention, like I have just said about myself. I had to have my hips replaced when I was 38, um, but that helped me immensely. Now I can get around almost normally. I just can't run anymore. Um, so yeah, that's good. But this part right here, or ability level. Now that's not good. Yes, Ray, it is social justice health, and that they actually use the term pretty soon. They will not pass up the opportunity to let that known. It's just in the bottom of the next paragraph, by the way, if you want to read ahead. Um, Pursuing health not as an outcome or objective of living. So you don't have to want to be healthy, according to HAES, according to ASDA. You can just say to yourself, you know what? I'm 600 pounds. I'm in bed. I'm pooping in a diaper, but I'm happy with that. That's my objective. So score. Life's good. Um, and where did I get 600 pounds from? You'll see that later on. Pursuing health is neither a moral imperative nor an individual obligation. Okay, moral imperative. Do you want to go there? Again, I think I mentioned spirituality, Judeo Christian tenets. Your body is the temple of Christ, the body is the temple of your soul. You're supposed to take care of it, folks. You're supposed to take care of that temple. But individual obligation, that doesn't count. I'm sorry, Ray. You took my advice and I scarred you for life. See what happens when you listen to me? You should never do that. Um, so individual obligation doesn't count. You have no reason whatsoever to try to take care of yourself. And um, and health status should never be used to judge, oppress, or determine the value of an individual. Um, if someone's not healthy, how valuable are they? Um, their value is lessened. Even if you just have the flu, um, you're not as valuable to society as you would be if you didn't. If you have the flu and you're running around coughing on people, you're now a vector. You're creating more disease. I can't see how that would be valuable to society. Um, and certainly, if you're grossly overweight or underweight and you're bedridden, um, what value are you to society then? You're draining medical resources, is what you're doing. Yes, you need those resources. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying just because you're overweight or underweight that you shouldn't avail yourself of health resources. Quite to the contrary, you have to. That is your moral imperative and your individual imperative to do that. But according to this, that is not to determine your value, even though you can't interact with society at all when you're ill, specifically if you're very ill. Um, so there's that. That's just the first paragraph, folks. Trust me, it won't go too long. Um, I think the first two times I did this, it went about 45 minutes. Um, so here, the framing for a health at every size approach comes out of discussions among healthcare workers, consumers, and activists who reject the use of weight, size, or BMI as proxies for health, and the myth that weight is a choice. Okay, let's take the last one first. Myth that weight is a choice. Weight is a choice unless you have a severe pathology that completely precludes you from resolving your issues through the help of healthcare professionals, say a therapist or a doctor is so required. That is where the myth is choice comes into play. If those two things are a factor, then no, it's not a choice. You're severely ill. But those are the outliers. For the most part, you have a choice. It's calories in, calories out. If you exercise more and eat less, you'll lose weight. And if you eat as much as you put out, as you burn, through either reduced portions or portions of an exercise, you'll maintain your weight. It's math. It's very simple arithmetic. Not to have people like Riley Dennis tell you, but yeah, it's arithmetic. But according to ASDA, their HAES model, no, weight choice is a myth. So, discussions. Here's the first part. I kind of got a kick out of this. Discussions among healthcare workers, consumers, and activists. Healthcare workers. I would like to see the word professional in there personally. Workers, you know, so like sex worker. Does that mean sex professional? No, no. If you're in a clinical setting, if you believe in sex therapy, I'm not going there, then yeah, that would be a professional. But if you're just a hooker on the street, let me check, Alice, because my microphone is on. Let me look at OBS. According to OBS, things are fine. I would suggest you refresh your screen. That happens sometimes. The stream may have gotten hung up. So please do that and let me know as soon as possible if you got it or not. And if anyone else has lost the sound, please put that in as well. I hope that resolves it for you, Alice. So again, healthcare workers, you've defined worker, consumers, and activists. Fine, that's who I would go to if I was looking to put together a project. Activists, of course, is a scary term nowadays, so let's watch out for that. But look what their principles are. Who reject both the use of weight, size, or BMI as proxies for health and oh geez, I already read that. I'm sorry. The activists, that was the part I hadn't gotten to yet. So yeah, again, professionals would have been a nice word to use there, but workers, I guess that's less judgmental. So the HAES model is an approach to both policy and individual decision making. Okay, hello Lee, welcome to the chat. Hopefully Alice has got her sound back. The HAES model is an approach to both policy and individual decision making. Okay, policy, what you're trying to do here through HAES and ASDA is influence policy based on our normal parameters of health and extending it to what they want health to be considered. And individual decision making, again, that would be health for you. If you like to be 68 pounds and throw up every time you see a hamburger, that's healthy for you. That's fine. Lee, we've covered the first paragraph, and if you want to just read over it at your leisure, that's fine. If you haven't looked over the thing already, I'm sure you'll be able to point out the holes in it on your own quite readily. You don't need to be led by the hand on that. I'm sure it's pretty simple, but we'll continue on with the second paragraph here. So HAES addresses broad forces that support health, such as safe and affordable access. Safe and affordable access to what? It doesn't say. To professional health care? Well, we've already seen that they really don't care about that. To healthy food? They don't care about that. To social interaction? Maybe. Maybe not. You're welcome, Lee. Very broad, very unhelpful. Non-helpful? Someone's going to give me grief for that later. It also helps people find sustainable practices that support individual and community well-being. Well, if you're a healthy individual, then you are sustaining the practice that supports you and your community through social interaction and through health. But we've seen that that's too specific for ASDA and the HAES principles. And you can see right here, and this is what Ray referred to earlier. It's a shame it shows up, but you knew it was coming. The HAES approach honors the healing power of social connections. That's good. The more interactive you are with your society, the better off you're going to be. The odd jerk here and aside. Um, Evolves in response to the experiences and needs of a diverse community. Um, what? Evolves in response to the experiences and needs of a diverse community. What that's telling me is intersectionality. And that's not hard for me to say, as you'll see further on down. And of course, everyone's favorite phrase grounds itself in a social justice framework, which means it's crap. These people are in an echo chamber. They have no idea what it means to actually try to strive to be healthy outside of their touchy-feely system. And if they did have an idea, they would deny it to the last breath in their body. So here are the principles that took me so long to get to. First, weight inclusivity. You knew that was going to be there. Accept and respect the inherent diversity of body shapes and sizes, and reject the idealizing or pathologizing of specific weights. No. Certain weights need to be idealized or pathologized because they can be pathologies. If you're incredibly overweight, incredibly underweight, you have a pathology. You have a sickness. It needs to be treated. It rarely comes down to when you're that far on the extreme to just changing your eating habits. Like I said, you're 68 pounds, you throw up at the sight of a hamburger. That's pathology. You're 600 pounds and you won't pass up a fried chicken. That's pathology. That needs to be treated. Lower weights, like Whitney Way Thorweight, she could just stop eating so much. If you haven't seen that video of her being fired by her trainer, I suggest you do. And specifically look for the part about the cookie. The cookie is key. I won't say any more than that. I don't want to spoil it for you. Okay. Health enhancement. What is health enhancement? Taking the right daily vitamins? Exercising? Eating healthy? Getting those greens in there every so often? By the way, I hate things that are green except avocados. Sorry, I do. No, not good enough for them. Support health policies that improve and equalize access to information and services, and personal practices that improve human well-being, including attention to, individual physical, economic, social, spiritual, emotional, and other needs. In short, the intersectional stack. Not only is this SJW, this is intersectionality. I'm sure you're not surprised. Respectful care. Well, everyone knows what respectful care is. You go to your doctor, and they don't give you shit for how you eat. They try to treat you as a human being. No, not good enough. Acknowledge our biases, or is it biases? I say it both ways. And work to end weight discrimination, weight stigma, and weight bias. Weight discrimination. If you're 600 pounds and you have a desk job and I have to buy you a bench, probably going to discriminate against you. Weight stigma. That's where they're projecting their own insecurities onto you, and they feel stigmatized by their weight, and they're saying, that's what you do to me. And you know what? There is a weight stigma. There certainly is. But it's not like they would like to portray it, which is everyone calls me a barnyard animal. Everyone makes mooing noises. If you've seen my first fat videos, you know what I'm talking about. They look at me askance. I like to look at people askance, and askew for that matter, especially if they're over or underweight beyond a certain point. I will give you a few pounds. I'll give you 20 or 30 pounds. Either way, I think that's fine. There are studies that show that being overweight, not obese, but overweight, can actually be healthier than being at a normal BMI. My last Riley video, I had a source in there that Riley quoted first. I'll give him credit. He put it in there first. End discrimination, weight stigma, and weight bias. And now here we go. Folks, what is the difference between discrimination, stigma, and bias? I can see stigma being a separate word because that's kind of a loaded word. That has a negative connotation to it. But discrimination and bias, those are the same word. So now they're just trying to tack things on to make it seem worse than it is. Um, and I remember when I was first starting out writing, I would constantly use three adjective phrases, clauses at the end of sentences. Um, and I would often repeat homonyms in those sections because it sounded better. It was wordy. And to my mind, wordy sounded better. It took me a while to break myself of that habit. And a program called Grammarly, which I highly represent. Repre- uh, what's the word? Recommend. That was easy. Recommend. Um, Grammly. Grammarly. Look it up. And then the last one here, life enhancing movement. This is my favorite by far. Absolute favorite. Support physical activities that allow people of all sizes, abilities, and interests to engage in enjoyable movement to the degree that they choose. Enjoyable movement. You're 600 pounds and you like sipping shakes 60 times a day. Over and over and over. Is that enjoyable? Yes, I'm sure it is. Is that to the degree that they choose? Yes, I'm sure it is. Is that healthy? Of course not. Absolutely, of course not. But their term here, physical activities, they is such a broad phrase that it could be anything they want. Now, I would like it to be exercise, be it gym, yoga, um, water aerobics, or all three. I think that would be good. But to the degree that you choose, no. No, if you go to the gym once a month, you're not cutting it, folks. I'm sorry. You will undo any good that you did easily within, I think, what is it, like a week? If you don't work out at least once a week, 3 times a week, something like that, you're not building on that foundation. What? Oh, there's Grammarly, folks. Uh, I'm sorry, it's Grammarly. I should have known they spelled it right. But there it is. And see, it'll even give you definitions on highlighted phrases. You gotta like that. Um, yeah. Very good, Ray. I missed your first one about the better welds in the corners, but definitely work out until you're satisfied. 12-ounce curls once they're on the fridge. Yep. I prefer imperial ounce curls myself. I don't like to limit myself to just pints. Imperial pints is the way I like to go. But I've got the glasses for it, So those really cool British pub glasses with the scalloped edges all around the outside. Those are just awesome. You can get them on the Amazon for almost next to nothing. A set of 4, French glass for almost next to nothing. But yeah, so and now in this, I actually don't mind so much enjoyable movement if again it's related to physical exercise, because you want to do something that is enjoyable. I think I said earlier, if you're just running on a treadmill all the time, that's going to get old unless you're really motivated as a runner, which I am not because of my artificial hips. I avoid running at all costs. I avoid jogging quickly through the kitchen because the last time I did that, I hurt my hip really badly, tore some muscles like you wouldn't believe. Um, but you want your exercise to be enjoyable. So again, get help from the trainer. Get help from the trainer. Now, this Q&A, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here. I just went to, oh, absolutely right, absolutely. Now, I want you to pay attention not to where the principles necessarily originated from, but who they originated from. Or is that whom? Uh, whom they originated from. Yes. You've got Claudia, Miriam, Roki, Donna, Paul? Who's Paul? Catherine, Veronica, Judy, Lisa, Francie, Renee, Darshana, Judy, Joanne, Ellen, and Dana. One guy. What is that, like 93% women? 90% at least. Yeah. So who is Paul? Is he an ally? Beta soy ally who's just trying to get laid, hanging out with the chicks? Um, or is he someone who identifies as a Paul? We don't know. I'll tell you this much: it's the only time you're going to see him, because we're going to look up some other people later. Paul's not to be found. Maybe they hate him. I check my video here. Is it getting dark? Do I need to turn on another light? Yeah, it is. Excuse me just a second. There we go. That's better. Tilt that up just a little bit. Check that. I don't think you're seeing enough of my hat. That's better. Okay. So, yes, all these women, which if you're talking about SJW intersectionality, it's going to be rare to find a guy in that subset. Very, very rare. But we got one. How long he's been there, we don't know, but we got one. Now, we'll notice here that the principles have appeared on the ASDAF materials and website, the 5 original principles, excuse me, from 23 to 2013. So when was this last updated? I would have kind of mentioned the fact that it's on there now. So are they still around? Maybe not. We'll get to that at the very end. Over the years, the principles were adopted. 10-year anniversary, natural time for reflection, yada, yada, yada. Of course, here's this last part you're going to not be surprised by, but we'll include it anyway. In this revised set of principles, we seek to acknowledge social justice and access concerns while remaining true to the underlying lived wisdom. Underlying lived wisdom. So I'm thinking that that's the same as your truth. Now, we all know who got a lot of flack for saying alternate facts last year as well. She should have. That was a stupid thing to say. And she deserved every amount of derision she got for it. But right here, remaining true to the underlying lived wisdom. No. Of the HAES approach as it has been practiced for many years. Who's practicing it? Again, we'll get to that. Process. Really nothing there. Now, this is the weight, this part here. These are the weights I've been referencing all this time. Principle number 1 states that no weight should be pathologized, but aren't there pathological weights, such as an adult at 68 pounds with an eating disorder or a 600-pound bedridden individual? Why doesn't that say 600-pound bedridden individual with an eating disorder? When a weight-specific lens is applied to health, the myriad contributing factors affecting an individual's well-being are usually lost. Okay, now we know that there's more than just weight involved in this. There is also mental or physical illness. But right here, they even say 68 pounds with an eating disorder. So they're describing a physical/mental illness. If you're 68 pounds and an adult, your nutrition values are shot. Your bone density is shot. Your kidneys are shutting down. Your liver is shutting down. All these things are factors. So you're physically and mentally ill. You're not healthy by any stretch of the imagination. You certainly have no social life. So all the parameters are shot. And if you're a 600-pound bedridden individual, you're not getting out. Society has to come to you. Um, your eating habits are obviously very, very detrimental to you, and your health. Your organs are being squeezed. You have an increased risk of heart disease, dying of a heart attack. You have an increased disease of stomach or bowel cancer, um, a higher level of type 2 diabetes. Someone in one of my comment sections actually told me that you can eat yourself into type 1 diabetes, but it's reversible if you take that weight back off, in some instances at least. I didn't know that before. So that's interesting. But that weight-specific lens, ooh. So the health at every size approach shifts the focus to acknowledging and respecting an individual's circumstances. Well, we just discussed the most important circumstances, so what are they talking about? Works to investigate and support options that are available to him, her, to make choices that benefit his, her health and well-being. Well, shouldn't those choices be getting professional help for your eating disorder, or getting a dietitian's advice to stop eating too much of the wrong food, or getting a gym trainer's advice on exercise? I'd say that pretty well covers the bases. And you could go the spiritual route too, seeing a pastor or rabbi or imam, if you will, to get yourself under control spiritually. Those things are available. But are those the choices that they're talking about? No. No, those are not the choices they're talking about. This is the one time they actually quote the weights mentioned in this question. For the 68-pound or 600-pound person using HAES approach, puts the focus on his or her behaviors, unique set of abilities and available resources, and places them in the context of their life as the primary areas of concern and consideration. Primary areas of concern and consideration. So you should just consider eating less. You should just consider getting to the gym, getting out in the world. You should just consider those things. That doesn't mean that you have to do them. Just consider them. I like this part right here. Each person will have his or her own strengths and vulnerabilities and will likely respond to stimuli in their unique way. In their unique way. Well, we all have our own strengths and vulnerabilities, of course, but likely to respond to stimuli in their unique way. What do they mean by stimuli? Stimuli, taste, smell, hearing, touch, and you can go with social stimuli too if you want to throw that in there as a fifth dimension or fourth. Those things. Those are your stimuli. That's where things come in. And what are they talking about? I'll bet they're talking about eating, and that's it. They could not care less about the other things. And their unique way. Let's say that you're actually getting health. Getting help. Freudian slip there. Let's say that you're getting help from a professional, and of course you're going to respond in your own unique way. You're an individual, and your physician or your therapist or both should work with you to determine a treatment plan that fits your needs, that fits your ability to respond to certain stimuli. But I'm seeing that stimuli as being social in that regard, as being professional in that regard. And again, they have so many other parameters, so many other insane things to put into play there that it all becomes meaningless. Improving a person's health is a process that begins by contemplating what it would take to make certain determinants of health available and accessible to different individuals, and not by pathologizing any specific weight. Well, yeah, improving a person's health does begin by contemplating what it would take to make certain determinants of health available and accessible. But then you have to follow through on that. You can't just contemplate them. And I know it says begins, but we've seen in the earlier definitions that that's all they really care about is that you think about it. Obviously, you don't have to go through with it. Certainly, purposeful movement, and no, it's just enjoyable movement. And I'm sorry, but specific weights, as it says in the question, need to be pathologized. They are indication of a deep-rooted sickness, a deep-rooted illness, and they are pathologies and they need to be treated as such. But not these people, not these people. All right, here's a new one for you folks. Even if you think you know the intersexual stack completely, I think this is a new one. Healthism. Never heard it before. I've heard ableism, but not healthism. Healthism is the idea that following a particular set of health behaviors is good and not doing so is bad. Can anyone see a problem with that sentence? I sure can. It's stupid. Following a particular set of health behaviors is good. If you don't follow healthy behavior, you're not a healthy person. Significantly different than behaving badly. Now, of course, again, their definition of health isn't what you or I would consider a definition of health, wouldn't what a doctor would consider a definition of health. But so they're using health behavior here as a bad term. But unfortunately, health, there's scare quotes, is one of a long list of categories that our culture tends to use to value an individual's worth, along with appearance, size, weight, age, ability, gender, race, and others. And it's an intersectionality stack. Right there, intersectional stack. Healthist judgments have also crept into our discourse around public health, with spiraling healthcare costs being implicitly or explicitly blamed on the so-called choices of various groups, including fat people. See, there's your bias in this group. There's your lens. Fat people. They talk about a person who is 68 pounds with an eating disorder one time. They refer to it one time right here, and that's just because it was in the question. So as far as the rest of it goes, that's healthist behavior, including fat people. Now, why have these judgments, these quote unquote healthist judgments, crept into our discourse around public health and spiraling healthcare costs? Because there is an epidemic of obesity or in many parts of the Western world right now, Germany especially, and the United States most particularly. And these are draining healthcare costs. You've all seen, I'm sure, some of the more specific figures, but I'll just put a general term out there: billions. Overweight and underweight pathologies cost America billions in healthcare every year. And that's just the medical cost. That's just a dollar cost in terms of medical care. What about social interaction, social care, social costs, excuse me. If you die at 35 from a heart attack, either being overweight or underweight, which is certainly possible. I mean, Karen Carpenter was how old when she died of anorexia? This is not good. You're not contributing to society as long as you should, as long as to be expected. I think the average age to death in America right now, life expectancy is the word term I wanted, is somewhere around 75, 78, somewhere in there. You should, yes, Ray, healthism. Scary, but true. I wish there wasn't such a delay on the chat. I don't know if there's anything I can do to fix that. I'll have to look that up because I don't have a delay built in. So I don't know. Anyway, but yes, social cost. You're not living long enough. You're dying at too young an age. And even from a social aspect, if just that you're not interacting with society long enough, there's also the economic factor of you're not contributing to society through your income long enough. You're not part of the GDP. You're dying early, and you're denying the country that you live in the taxes, the wages, the increased productivity that you would provide as a healthy person. And I know before I was diagnosed with some of my various illnesses, I was not at work as often as I could have been. I still suffer from insomnia on occasion, and that screws with your work schedule significantly. And they don't like to hear you call in at 7:30 in the morning saying, "Look, I haven't slept for 2 days. I can't come in." That that's a cost on the economy. And if you're overweight, you've got breathing difficulties, and you're going to be on a CPAP machine. And if you don't take care of yourself and don't get treated and don't get on a CPAP machine, you're not going to get enough sleep ever. I know someone who went 3 years with sleep apnea before they were able to finally get treated. And it made an incredible difference in their life when they were able to get the right diagnosis and get the right treatment. But up until then, they were at a disadvantage at work. And they're also at a disadvantage driving because sleep apnea means you'll fall asleep at the wheel more often than if you're getting enough sleep. So right there's another human cost, car accidents. So yeah, so-called choices. Pathetic. So real quickly here, AHNC principles reject judgments about health in any discourse of individual responsibility. Yes, you have no responsibility towards yourself. You have no responsibility to be judged healthy, and instead they want to favor a discourse of individualized health needs. Well, that sounds reasonable. Everyone needs to be healthy, right? Well, no, they don't believe that. They don't believe that you need to be healthy according to the normal standard. They have their own standard of health, and that would be fine with them. If you just don't take care of yourself, as long as you're getting what you feel you need, then you're good to go with ASDA and their HAES principles. You're good to go. This is nice. This is perfect SJW right here. None of us are alike, and each of us is entitled to make up our own minds about what health means. No, there is a specific definition of health. Are you ill, mentally or physically? Are you at a proper weight? Are you getting social activity at the right level? And again, if you're into this, are you spiritual? Are you taking care of yourself in the image of your God, of what that deity would want for you? If not, you're not healthy. But those 4 parameters aren't good enough for HAES, aren't good enough for ASDA. So that means you get to make up your own mind about what health means. 600 pounds, pooping in a diaper, you're healthy, according to you, good to go. 68 pounds, thrown up in a hamburger, good to you, good to go. And this right here, as we covered, the preamble to HAES defines health as a resource or capacity rather than a state that can be good or bad. That means nothing. That means nothing. And they, of course, want to change the conversation by refocusing healthcare professionals and policymakers on what can be done to empower individuals and communities towards well-being. And again, their definition of well-being, not a normal definition of well-being. These people are insane. And here, Ray, I know you're waiting for this. If you read it last night, but I'll bring it up. Our social and cultural identities are multidimensional and complex. Well, yeah, we all know that. No one is only an ethnicity or a gender or a religion or size. Well, we all know that too. We are all these things and more. Well, how do you mean that? Here it comes. This is sometimes referred to as the concept of intersectionality. Yay, intersectionality. But which recognizes that various social and cultural categories are not independent, but rather intersecting. So we are not individuals. I'm not Hat. Ray's not Ray. Lee's not Lee. We're made up of individual components, and If you have better components, let's say you're white, or if you're healthy, according to healthism, then you're not on that stack. You don't count. But if you're a black trans midget with artificial hips and an eating disorder, or I'm sorry, are healthy according to your needs, but are uh, disassociated from society because of that, then you're higher up on the stack. And that's what this is. You know, if I'll tell you right now, if America believed in intersectionality, if the vast majority of intersectionality was a common core of American thought, then Hillary Clinton would be in office right now. She ran on an intersectional platform, and look what it did for her. She won the coast. She won the coast. She got 3 million more popular votes because California and New York believed in her. But Middle America wasn't buying into that. So that's where intersectionality will get you. But they're still pushing it. But again, this might be as old as 2013. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look right here. 2018. I missed that the first time. Down at the bottom. 2018. So for some reason, they've updated the copyright on the website, but they haven't updated the time frame on their what am I trying to say? On their printables aspect. And that's just, it ends at 2013 for them. As Ray just said, as long as you have an adult diaper and a McDonald's next door and the government, you're set. That's basically it. Yes. If you can get all the social interaction that you need from the takeout at McDonald's, no, you're not even going to go to takeout. It's going to be brought to you. So your health care giver who brings you McDonald's changes your diapers and your government check keeps coming in, you're good to go. And if you do get outside, then things like your race and abilities and your healthism will determine your worth in society. Okay, so we're going to move on from the principles. We've pretty well exhausted that. And I'm sure I've pretty well exhausted all of you. Just a few more things here. First of all, the curriculum. Just this one part right here. Developing a healthy relationship with food and exercise. I skipped one. Three parts to their curriculum. Overview, developing a healthy relationship with food and exercise, and size acceptance. Well, we just went over the overview, so we're covered there. Developing a healthy relationship with food and exercise. None of us have a problem with that, do we? None of us have a problem with developing a healthy relationship with food and exercise, but that's not what they think as what you and I would think. You and I would think healthy relationship with food and exercise would be you're eating properly. You're eating enough of what you need, and you're eating at the right amounts to take care of yourself. I just repeated myself. I'm sorry. But you're taking care of yourself through the amount that you eat. Exercise, you're taking care of yourself through the amount that you exercise. You're balancing your caloric intake with your caloric output or burn rate, and you're either maintaining a healthy weight or you're working towards a healthy weight. And that could mean taking in more calories than you lose through exercise if you're underweight, or vice versa. But that's not what they believe. They believe in doing it to where it feels good to you. Feels over reals. I can't believe I didn't say that before, because that's exactly what this is. It's feels over reals. But I'm repeating myself because I already said SJW and intersectionality, so I don't even know why I didn't think of using those words before. And then the last one here, size acceptance. Okay, well, are they preaching to the choir about that? Are they saying that the size acceptance should be a part of the person whose weight is not normal's life, or our lives, the people who would view someone being overweight, significantly overweight or significantly underweight as being unhealthy, and that we should accept that size for what it is, which is just their version of health. Because if they're preaching to the choir, I don't see how anyone would even need to look at that part of the curricula. If they're preaching to us, I don't see why we would have to need to look at that curricula, because we're not going to get into it. We're not going to buy into that crap. But it's there. They bothered to put together a PowerPoint It's available on the website. You can download it, I'm pretty sure. If you want to torture yourself, I would just look at the size acceptance part and see how that goes. I may even do a video on that later on. That might not be worth, or that might not be a bad idea. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments of the video of this after I put it up, or in the chat if you like. Um, so and here videos. Videos. I missed that the first time. Videos of the 3 components have been recorded, and supplemental materials are also available for download. Okay. We welcome feedback after you have used the curriculum. Let's look at the feedback page. Let's just take a little side trip here. See if there's anything. Nope. One comment from August 9th, 2013, and it is from HAES, or from ASDA itself. Wow. Now, that's going to fit in to something I'm going to end with, but I've just got one other point to make here. Let's look at the curriculum development team. Another drink of coffee here. Black Diamond from Green Mountain Coffee. Excellent. I don't know if they make it in ground form, but it is available in the Keurig 1. It's quite good. But I don't drink it for the caffeine. Caffeine doesn't affect me. Neither does sugar. They have no input on my body whatsoever except calories. My metabolism doesn't change at all. It's weird. But so anyway, let's look at these curriculum authors here. Crystal Vasquez, we saw her at the beginning. She is the teaching assistant for Dawn Clifford, the associate professor, the PhD with the associate professor level at California State Chico. I know someone who went to Chico, by the way. Interesting fellow. And those are the authors. These two. All those people that I read earlier that are on the board, these are the ones who created the curriculum. That doesn't seem to me to be a very diverse group. I mean, where's Paul? No Paul. Now, here, this is good. This is one that I looked up. One of the editors is Lucy Aframor, I believe I'm saying that right, or Aframor, from Well-Founded Limited. Alice B., we are expected to pretend that there are 91 genders and you can be multiple genders a day and a host of other ridiculous crap. Exactly, Alice. Yes, that is what they want you to buy into when you get into the SJW and intersectionality campaigns. And I can't see how anyone could think otherwise. Of course, you know, if you do say that, then you're branded someone who is a bigot, racist, and believes in hate speech, which, as we all know, there's no such thing as hate speech. It's just speech. But if it hurts someone's feelings on the left side of the spectrum, then it's hate speech. So, yeah, and I've heard 72 genders. That was the first number that I heard when the whole gender thing first came up. And of course, all but 2 of them are crap. But I'm not. I would not be surprised since I first read that number. There have been another 19 added. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But anyway, to get back here, HAES curriculum editor Lucy Aframor, PhD RD, Well-Founded Limited. So what is Well-Founded Limited, or who is Lucy? A radical dietitian. There's her site. Copyright 2016. Look at it just a slight bit further, and see if we get anywhere. And no, it takes us to the same page as it did before. So, about Lucy. A radical. Well, we knew that. Let's just go to this right here. I'm a radical dietitian because I believe we need to make fundamental changes in how we talk about lifestyle, health, and justice in order to make this fair, kinder world a reality. This fair, I'm sorry, I read that in reverse order, excuse me. This fair, kinder world a reality. Sorry, my cat has asthma. Um, that is not proper sentence structure there, Lucy. I'm sorry. In order to make um, a reality, a fair, kinder world, something like that. But and let's just take a look at Lucy's picture over here on the right. Yes, folks, that's a Lucy. That, I'm sure we know where Paul came from now. Okay, enough about beating up on Lucy. Um, so, last thing to do here, and then we'll be done. I went to the ASDA Find an Expert page. And it's fairly straightforward. Experts listed on these pages are current members of ASDA. As such, they have confirmed their commitment to ASDA's mission and goals and to the Health at Every Size principles. So, let's try to find an ASDA expert, a HAES service professional in my area. I'm going to go a little bit off where I'm at, not to completely dox myself. So let's see what happens here. So AHNC, last name, hat, expertise, activism, advocacy, state, Illinois, country, USA, location, Chicago. I want something within 50 miles of the 60603 zip code. 60603 is pretty much downtown Chicago, as I understand it. I looked it up earlier. Hopefully I didn't misremember the number, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So, 60603, downtown Chicago, 50 miles from downtown Chicago. That includes where I live at right now. That includes part of downstate Illinois, or the far southern northern third of Illinois, if you will, which is not very populated. But it also goes out to Rockford, which is the second largest city in Illinois. So let's search and see how many HAES principal professionals, how many ASDA professionals I can find within 50 miles of downtown Chicago. Take bets. Put a number in your head right now and take a bet to yourself as to how many you think I'll find. I'll give you an over or under. 3, less or more. So pick the over or under. Under 3 or over 3. All right. Got a number? Here we go. I'm going to hit search. And we're going to scroll down to the bottom. And look at that. No HAES expert could be found fitting your search criteria. Try entering less criteria. Less criteria? No, it's supposed to be fewer criteria, folks. Or widening your search radius. All right. Yes, that's right, Ray. The old classes are no more. English literature, certainly Western civilization is gone. And in literature, they're no longer teaching Shakespeare because that's an old white guy. And no. We all know how bad old white guys are for you. But yeah, intermediate basket weaving and cake decorating. But remember, if you're decorating that cake, it's got to be for a same-sex couple. Can't be for some Christian wedding because that's against what? That's genderism right there. No, what does that mean? Genderism or sexism? Homophobia. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting my obias. Yes, homophobia. That would be bad. So let's try one more time here. Let's go out to 100 miles. As you can see, I can't even type my own shorthand. I was messing that up earlier. Hat, expertise, activism, state, Illinois. Hey, Johnny. Thanks for the compliment on the hat. This was the first hat I ever bought. It's a Stetson frame, but it came out of a place called ML Leddys in Fort Worth, Texas. Leddys. Leddys is the premier bootmaker in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I got my cowboy boots through them as well. Um, I'll try to remember to bring them up next stream. I will be doing this again, and I will do my best to show them off, as I am quite proud of them. I've got one word: kangaroo. So country, not UAE. United Kingdom, United States. Funny that UAE would be in there. In fact, look at the number of countries they have available: Australia, Austria, Brazil, Canada, Mexico, Netherlands, UAE, UK, United States. That's it. So I guess they're not very broad. So location again, we'll go with Chicago. And this time, let's do 100 miles. 60603. 60603. Search. Again, no one. No one. Now, I see this as a good thing. I see this as saying that there are no HAES experts, at least not anymore. Even though the website's up to date at 2018, well, partially up to date, the copyright's up to date, there are no people around who who are an ASDAB member and who offer HAES services. So, I guess we're winning. Good for us. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to end on that. Just so you know, 100 miles outside of the city of Chicago, Illinois, a metroplex that has millions of people in it. No HAES experts. Yay. Yay. Trans species. Yes. Yes, Alice, I agree with you completely. Well, here's where we're going with that. I think you're making a very accurate statement, because if you look ahead at, if you just look back at what we've had in the media recently, the mainstream media. First, we had the Salon article about a pedophile and how we should feel sorry for the pedophile, who says in the article he's never touched children. But if you search any level at all into his social media posts, you'll see that he has in fact talked about touching children, and that I believe in one instance it was a little girl and she was okay with it. And who are we to impugn his observation of how that went? I'm sure he's deadly accurate that she was in fact okay with it. So there was the pedophilia. Then there was the very recent CNN article about cuckoldry. And if you're only familiar with cuck in the slang term at the moment, which would mean anyone who is subsumed by SJW values, then you would know the actual term, which is a cuckold, is a man who will watch his wife have sex with another man. Not watch himself and his wife in a mirror, but sit to the side and watch his wife have sex with another man. That's a cuckold. And that's not just necessarily a human trait, because there are instances in the avian world where I believe it's cuckoo birds. In fact, this is where the term came from. There are cuckoo birds who will lay an egg in another species bird's nest after kicking the first eggs out, and then leaving and letting the other species raise their chicks. That's so cuckoo cuckoldry. And there you go. There's your little word, your little entomology for the day. Etymology, excuse me. Entomology is insects. Sorry. I do that. But yeah, so no, and then the last one, I'm sorry, it took a long way around that. The last one, Alice, is the recent article about someone having sex with a dolphin, interspecies sex, which we all know is bestiality. Now, this is not really the first time this kind of article has come out. There was a Daily Mail article from a few years ago about someone who had had sex with a dolphin, a sexual relationship with a dolphin, not just an encounter, but a relationship. And that went on for, I believe, several years. So yeah, it's all well and good. But yep. Oh, okay. Okay, Johnny. Mainstream media in the USA, yes. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, those are the broadcast networks that would be considered mainstream media. And then you also have the print media, which the old style newspaper networks, which would be New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Chicago Tribune, the LA Times. Those are the big four. Um, and then you have also magazine media. You would have like Salon, which is far left, the New Republic, Time magazine, um, and those. I would say Newsweek, but Newsweek's going out of business fast. It's almost dead. They're under investigation for serious transgressions in their advertising departments, and um, their digital footprint has been decreasing by ever increasing numbers recently. So as has their print footprint. So they're almost out of town. Um, and let's see, was there one other I was thinking of? That would. Oh yes, our state funded. Our funded. I'm sorry. Our state funded broadcasting network would be the Public Broadcasting Corporation, which is TV, and that is supported mainly by actually a subscriber network. They have pledge drives every so often where people would, give so much money to get a certain premium prize. Like for instance, when I was 16, I donated to the local PBS station and I got a towel, a very thin, very crappy towel, but a towel nonetheless, with the station's logo um, uh, printed into it. Um, but nowadays you can get books or audio tapes or things like that. So that's the broadcast portion, PBS. The radio portion, FM radio portion, is FM stands for frequency modulated, by the way, as opposed to AM, which is amplitude modulated. But the FM radio is NPR, National Public Radio. PBS has certain programming that isn't completely left, but NPR has gone off the rails. I used to listen to it all the time before it became completely left leaning, but now it's beyond the pale. It's as bad as MSNBC, really, and MSNBC is as bad as it gets. CNN is lying all the time, but MSNBC is just far left propaganda for the most part, and NPR is far left propaganda. Trust me. And yes, Alice, absolutely you're right. These people are disgusting. It's a shame. So, but again, to that last point, you're right. Transspeciesm is on the way. If we can have transracialism, I don't. Oh, free speech television. Is that an Alex Jones, an Infowars channel? Because I know he has um, a free speech channel on YouTube. But I would be surprised if he had a. Oh, excellent, excellent. I don't have satellite or cable anymore. We only stream, and I'd say about 90% of our viewing time is spent on YouTube. If you if you go to my other channel, here I'll put a description of it in the chat. I can't post URLs, of course. YouTube doesn't allow that. But if you go to this channel and look for my last video on media being throttled, YouTube media being throttled by CNN and other mainstream outlets, then you'll see what I mean about networks being conservative networks being throttled by CNN and others. I just used that phrase over again. I'm sorry. Tom Hartman. I will look for that. Um, yeah, Johnny. The first networks that I listed are advertiser sponsored, so you don't have to pay anything to see them, but you do have to have a cable subscription. So you are paying a monthly fee in order to get those into your house, unless you go to the airport and watch it on there, because CNN is in almost every U.S. airport. I don't know how it is in Europe, but you can't get away from it around here. Um, so there's that. NPR and PBS, you don't have to pay for it as far as donations go, but your tax dollars are being put into that too, although not a great percentage. So, but you are paying for them out of your tax dollars. So there's that, but it's certainly not 20 euros a year, not quite that bad. Um, and I do not consider the BBC as a logical mainstream source anymore. I consider the BBC to be a a left um, leaning, if not left altogether, news source. And if you want any justification for that, you don't even have to look at their news, which speaks for itself. Just look at how they're running the corporation. Um, they are imposing equality of outcome quotas on the workforce by, I believe, 2021. It has to be representative of the percentage that that group is in UK society. So, for instance, women make up, let's just round it off, 50% of UK society. Then there have to be one woman for every man in that role. And if they're transgender, let's say transgender is 0.01% in the UK, then there have to be 0.01% transgenders working there too. And the salaries are just even across the board now almost. Even if you're on the most popular program on the BBC, you know, BBC like BBC One Radio or BBC Four Radio, an immensely popular program. But if you're a male presenter, then you're going to get paid less than you would a female presenter who is on a less popular show because reasons. Um, and thank you, Alice. I hope you like it. Um, so I'll end it here. I really appreciate all of you coming by, and I, again, am extremely sorry for all the mistakes with the stops and starts earlier, and not having the microphone on, cutting the first one off at 6.5 minutes. That will not happen again. I know what I'm doing now. There's an old phrase from the medical community whenever you're talking about a procedure. It's see one, learn one, sorry, see one. It's been so long since I've had to come up with this. I'll try it the third time. Learn one, do one, teach one. So if you're learning appendectomies, for instance, you will be taught your first appendectomy. You will perform the next time you go into the surgical suite. And then after you've done one, then you will teach the next one. That's all there is to it. Now, I have done 2 of these today, abortively, and this third one, I think, we'll get right. So, all of you, um, as I say at the end of all my videos, be well, and as always, thank you for your attention. And how do I turn this off?